As racers, we all enjoy winning when we can. Like most things in life though, winning isn't easy. You can find all kinds of videos out there teaching you things from the basics like how to charge your battery or set up your car, to more advanced things like Spencer Rifkin's 45-step guide on how to break in your ball diff. With that being said, there's a little bit more to winning than breaking in your diff and setting up your car. Okay, those are important, but there's another thing that's very important to winning, and that's your mentality. A winner's mentality is important to, well, winning. Having a winning mindset is not only important to when you inevitably win, but when you inevitably lose as well. Before we begin, however, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel by hitting the big red sub button on the bottom right corner. Without further delay, let's begin. Now, the number one thing you'll see a lot of faster guys doing is putting a lot of time into their hobby. And at the top level, their literal livelihoods. It's because like anything in life, in order to do well at something, you need to put the time in. Of course, not everybody is gonna be spending every waking moment of every practice day at the track practicing and doing test and tune days, but there's still ways to stay dedicated even when you aren't at the track getting wheel time in. Anytime you're online, take a few extra minutes to look up a few different setups for the type of track you're on, the tires people choose and what they do to them in case of indoor dirt, and what does that setup wise on your car. When you're at the track, take a second to talk to a few people who are faster than you and ask them what they do to go faster and what they do setup-wise. Staying dedicated by doing more than just getting wheel time in is very important to getting better at driving, though I cannot overstress how important practice days are for getting faster. Now I know not everyone can justify a 2-hour plus long drive to go to the track just to practice, but it is really important. Just going to a practice day is very important to get your car ready for a race before race day ever arrives, so that on the day of the race, you won't have to worry about making big setup changes, most of the time. One of the most difficult things for someone to do is accept they need help with something. It's not fun admitting you're not good enough to do something on your own, but here's a little tip that you should know. Nobody's good enough to never need help. There's always something that someone can teach you. There's always something that someone can help you with. Whether it's helping with your setup or showing you how to take a specific part of the track, there's always something that someone can show you that you may not have known before. Not only that, but if something goes wrong with one of your cars, don't be afraid to ask somebody for help. Not too long ago at the Megabuck shootout at Hobbytown Columbus, I met a guy named Justin Whitaker. Not only did he allow me to run stadium truck by lending me an extra motor he had, but he also gave me really good setup advice for that truck and showed me how to break in tires. To be honest, he's the only reason I was even a contender that day. Thanks, Justin. My point is that allowing people to help you can only be beneficial. You think those top-level drivers like Brian Mayfield, Ty Testman, or Ryan Cavalieri got there on their own? Of course it was them driving, but they usually have a support group around them giving them tips and helping in any way they can. The sooner you can accept the fact that you can always use help, the sooner you'll gain a lot of new experience. I'm about to get a little bit philosophical on you, but bear with me. Before you win, chances are you're going to lose. Statistically, you are much more likely to lose a race than you are to win one. In order for you to win, many things need to go right. But to lose, only one thing needs to go wrong. Whereas you can't eliminate all the risks when it comes to racing, you can at least minimize them. Investing in a spare set of electronics for one can help out a whole lot in case one of them decides to go bad. Replacing all the plastic parts like hubs or steering knuckles with aluminum can help as well. If they don't supply them in aluminum, simply grab a bunch of spares. In the case of this Losi, I might buy myself a 2250 roller just as a parts car. With that being said, don't get all bent out of shape when you do lose. I know it can be hard when that win is just within reach and is snatched away from you by means either within or outside of your control. However, the number one worst thing you can do at that moment is take that rage out on others. To put it simply, it makes you look like an asshole in the eyes of those around you. And before you say, "I don't care what others think of me," that's fine, but be sure to refer back to this part of the video. All in all, being prepared to lose will soften the blow when you inevitably do, and help you move forward to actually win in the future. When you're actually on the track, worrying yourself about your position can actually hurt you in the long run. Very few people are able to stay cool under pressure of being in first. I am not one of those people. Conversely, if you happen to fall behind, it's much better to focus on overtaking one at a time rather than only concerning yourself with where first place is. Making up places isn't something you can do all at once, unless there's a large pile-up. It's something you have to do one at a time. 90% of the time, if you're much faster than someone, they'll usually let you pass anyway. This mindset also extends to off the track as well. Don't make Hail Mary setup changes to try and make up seconds on your lap times. It simply won't work. Like I said in the last video, you want to get into the general ballpark setup-wise sometime before race day, preferably on a practice day or by appropriating someone else's setup. After a qualifier round and you place, say, 4th, you shouldn't be asking yourself, how do I get to first place now? You should be asking, how do I get to the podium now? You should also be taking small steps when it comes to your setup changes. Raising the hubs here, adding a little bit of kick up there, things that you know you need rather than a Hail Mary that will either work or catastrophically fail. This is something I feel like we're all guilty of, making excuses. I cannot tell you all of the times I've heard excuses like, I got caught up in lap traffic, the track was too loose or too sticky, I didn't get a good spot on the driver's stand, or my personal favorite, I got a bad marshal. Notice how all of these have something in common. They're all things within your control. Too much lap traffic? Practice overtaking and avoid big crowds. Track isn't to your liking? Change your setup. Didn't get a good spot on the driver's stand? Get there sooner. Didn't like how you get marshaled? Just don't crash. These are all simply excuses for you to avoid taking responsibility for your shortcomings. The sooner you accept those shortcomings, the sooner you can address and work on them. Now, if you took that as being a bit harsh, I apologize. This is something most of us work on in our lives on a daily basis. I, for one, am very much guilty of making excuses such as these. I did at SOS, I did at Snap Hard, and I did at the Megabucks race. In those moments, I had to catch myself and ask, what could I have done differently? And the answer was usually just, lol, get good. Those are all the ways to help you develop a winning mindset in RC racing. I hope this helped at least a little bit for those that needed to hear it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.